Well, hello everyone. Here to show you that the speech class, you say coloring activity right here is like what you call is like an I can only you'll talk about so much. It is that knowing about it like from what I can remember, of course from from speech class it is and basically that right here would be like what you call is like an example right here of me and of course draw myself say right here. It's like with the green shirt you got it right here. If I were to be wearing like you say a green shirt, it is and knowing about with that most of the time that it was like that that there was other students of course in that classroom, but then knowing about it is talk about as a story. It's like about me. If I'm talking about with me, since it is my birthday today, that I thought about go ahead and just talk about me right here. It's basically right here is that I would walk into the classroom. It was, and I remember that the teachers from the other classrooms of course would give the speech teacher they say papers about what I had to do, because of course that they according to the IEP from the IEP meetings that my parents and I went to, it was that they were talking about it's like with Matt's disability ever since birth it was, and that knowing about that what that he needs help with learning and understanding about the basics about the this or that it was, and about I think a few math problems of course with pronouncing words it was. But on the other hand too, that knowing about is that that with the pronouncing words and then learning how to spell, and of course learning how to read it was, and I can just remember that the door would be at about right here. It was that this took place at the hallway. It was in the hallway right here, and like over there at the elementary school, Becky David Elementary School. And if I can remember right, that at the other elementary school I went to, of course, was Cosley Elementary School. Is that knowing about that you had right here is that you got the hallway. But if I can remember right, that I went to I had speech class over there at the at Cosley Elementary, and I think at Fairmont Elementary I had a speech class there. But you walk in, and of course they had which most of us had probably seen it before. I was talking about with classroom memories. It was they would have like I think the speaker was like on the south part say the room, but I'll just go ahead and put it right here. They would have like these speakers that right here. I really don't know what all they have in a classroom nowadays, but this was back in early 1993, 1994 or something like that. That they would have like a speaker right here to where that they would have a button on the wall that you would push, and they would call out the teachers say in the office it was, and a lot of times the teachers would push the button just to know about can I help you, like, well, we want to know if someone was coming to class it was, or that if they needed something, that a lot of times they would be able to get a hold of one of the say of the at the counselor, somebody there at the office. It was office attendant. It was that get a hold of the office attendant. And I remember once or twice that they pushed it. And it's like, hey, Matt's supposed to be in speech class. Where is he? And then knowing about that a couple times, I remember being late a couple times going to that speech class. It was, and they were like, hey, when speech class starts, right? Well, you need to be here. And I'm like, well, I forgot or something like that. If I remember right, I can maybe be honest with anybody here that I told them that I forgot that there was speech class today, or maybe that well, maybe I just didn't really want to go, whatever it was. But I remember that I would go into speech class it was, and knowing about that we would be talking. Of course, in high school I had it too. In middle school and high school I had the speech class, and I would go in there and I would spend about 45 minutes to an hour in there. And of course they had like bookshelves and books and stuff like that on the shelves, and knowing about with me that that it was like that they would have reading, and of course that we would have do games, and we would read stories, and knowing about anything that we hear about of course on the news it was. And I was just also thinking about that one time that especially on my birthday, that I was like that you come to school on your birthday, and a lot of the classmates would give you some type of attention and be like, well, how old are you? Well, that's 9, we can now celebrate or something like that. And I can remember a couple of times before, out of those 3 years, that I wanted to come to be in school on my birthday especially, What was the reason? Well, the fact about knowing about maybe the teacher would maybe bring maybe Rice Krispies treats or something like that. If I remember my parents, they brought Rice Krispies treats, Rice Krispie treats, to school was, and that knowing about that give up some candies or say to some of my classmates it was. If I remember right, a few classmates was like wondering, I'm like, yeah, that I was about a year older than most kids there, because more likely to say that, yep, got held back, and I think it was in the kindergarten it was, but on the other hand too, that knowing about is that this coloring activity right here is this right here is the table right here, and I'll go ahead and usually it's like a brown table right here where the teacher would be sitting at about right here it is, and we would be reading stories and doing other sources of activities. It was classmates and I in that class would read stories and of course talking about video games and stuff, but I remember that after I was done with my work, they would have a computer in there that would allow you to get on the computer and play the games on there. And I can remember that the games that they had on there, of course, were like I think the names of the games that they had on there. I think there was a construction trailer or something like that. That something that was produced by some type of a software that they would have games that allow you to play with on there. And I think back then they had like back then I think they had like I don't know if there was a Windows 95, I think Windows 95 or something like that, some type of program on there to where they would allow you to play games on there. A lot of times when I want to get on the computer and play games, and if most of us here are familiar with those computer designs, is they would have like a slot, 2 slots about right here it was, and then of course the 15-pound monitor, of course you have right here is a screen. It's like the 15-pound screen monitor right there, and knowing about that, computers back then, it was about how size of a hard drive do you think that was? It's like talking about, I would probably say maybe at least 500 gigabyte. I would say about 500 gigabyte, megabyte, about 500 megabyte. So it's like I know about 500 gigabyte is the amount of memory that for the computer I have now, but 500 megabyte to about 140 megabyte hard drive more likely would have been the biggest that you can get, the highest class memory hard drive that you can get for the computers it was. And I think back then though that they may have had cheaper computers too, that knowing about that and some of them may not have had a hard drive, that some of them would have it to where it takes a disk, kind of like this right here, a floppy disk. If most of us are familiar with the name, for floppy disk, that they would have a disk, kind of like that right there. You would insert it into the computer and you'll be able to read the data that was on there. But anyway, that basically talking about with the speech class it is that knowing about that with speech classes talk about with cameras. It's like with cameras that about almost everyone. Almost everyone would wanna play, of course, with say with the webcam. It's like with the type of camera they're like talking about. It's like with the camera. If you bring a camera to class, it was like such as a webcam. It was a lot of times people say, yeah, the calculator, right? You gotta do your homework, and then we'll go ahead and show you what this is right here. This you can take pictures with this, and I remember a few students. It's like back then, though, that the cameras, if you want to have your picture taken, I remember in speech class that they had to where some of the students would want to have their picture taken whenever they want to sit in the trash can, and they want to act silly and want to sit in the trash can. It was, if I can remember right, that one of my places I want to have my picture taken was maybe standing in front of the door with the door closed. It was, or standing up against the wall, and then of course have my picture taken. It was, just for like an event, for the school year it was, and a few other things, of course, that were on the wall. It was, but it was sometimes it was a pretty small, big classroom, and sometimes it was a small classroom. But I remember that about every year that I think, if I can remember right, from elementary school to the middle school to high school, that except over there at the high school where I graduated from Rockbridge, it was that that I would have a speech class it was, and basically what said on my IEP, it's like talking about, it's like the stuff that talk about whenever you're born with I don't know if you call it brain pyramid, it is, but knowing about that you have right here is like, I remember whenever I moved on to the middle school, is knowing about, it's like how work the lock it was, how do I work the lock. But on your hand too, that knowing about is that begin to wonder at the time, why my color was always blue. Am I talking about, well, what color pencil would you want to write with? It's like any type of writing utensil it is talking about with blue. They had sometimes, if I can remember right, a lot of people favorite color was blue. It was maybe born with blue, or maybe the fact about that, you look good in blue, whatever it was. But on the other hand too, that knowing about that if you were to be looking for a blue balloon or as a blue ribbon or anything like that, well, I think about a lot of people say that's the most popular. Of course, a lot of classmates would like to have. But on the other hand too, that knowing about that, with blue, it's like you have right here, it's like you got the fingerprints right here. It is. A lot of times you're probably thinking about that, with your little fingerprints, is knowing about that, something that more likely that a lot of kids, maybe somebody like me, like see something and maybe that they would want to bite on it, put in their mouth or whatever, and just knowing about that, it's like talking about with blueberry ice cream, something that you ate. It's like blueberry ice cream, and then we're say with the letter blue is talking about with blue this, blue that. Maybe it's just the ice cream that I had those couple of years ago that maybe like the color blue it was, or maybe just the way it looks, in the background on my cute little face or anything like that. But knowing about with me that with the class speech is talking about is that knowing about I go to the speech class and I can remember talking, and I'll be talking to teachers about a number of things. Of course, one of those of course was whenever we went to the 6th grade. It was that getting adjusted to the new hours, that they say that you get out earlier, but then you have to get in earlier. It is, and a lot of people probably think about that. A lot of times around the school time that they say you gotta get up early, and then but then you get out earlier. But other than that, is like knowing about that. With speech class right here, that I can remember. Besides when Facebook came around the corner, is knowing about if you bring anything like a webcam. It's like talking about any type of camera into the classroom. It was, and it's like talking about, it's like hey, hi, like how you doing? But other than that, it's like if we were talking about maybe if the principal were to come into the classroom, if the principal would want to come into the classroom, I'd be like, hello, miss, like what we can do for you today? Or and sometimes like, oh, principal, what do you want? But other than that, the teacher or the principal or anything like that. But just knowing about how to pronounce, it's like this for the speech class. It's knowing about learning, learning. They say the proper ways about how to pronounce something. And on your hand too, this so far as class is talking about one or more students that they get that come to the class, come to that room, I guess you say that office, that they're taken out of their class, and of course they come in to go into that office, just if they need any help, with any of the schoolwork, if they had a question about something, or the fact about anything that they have problems with. A lot of times, and that was a lot of times whenever I was in there. But on the other hand too, that knowing about with my birthday, since my birthday came right around the summer break, it was that knowing about that sometimes that you're probably thinking about before the end of the school year, if I can remember right, the teacher would sometimes have gatherings. It was as knowing about that Matthew's birthday's in July, and we're gonna go ahead and have it to maybe have some treats or something like that. Have some treats and then maybe say do like what you call like a celebration for him and all that. And once or twice, I think that they, I even had students there in the classroom that would say that, we're going to have because, at the end of the school year, that Matt won't be returning back to this school for the next year. If I can remember right, that it was in the 3rd grade, it was, if I can remember right, the teacher was announcing the classrooms that you'll be going to whenever you go into the 4th grade. And I remember that they were asking, hey, what about Matt? well, what classroom is he in? And they said, oh no, Matt's going to another school. And then whenever I went back to Becky David, and of course whenever I went into Barnwell was, and just knowing about that, yeah, it's like with your birthday. And then a lot of times if you like think about it, it's not goes like, hey, shorty, it's your birthday, going on a party, it's your birthday. But other than that, it's like knowing about that with it's like the speech class. It's like and come on and celebrate, and come on and celebrate. But with the speech class, though, is like learn how the basics about how to use a calculator. It is, and just knowing about the fact about that learning how to use a calculator. And a lot of times I could probably think about if they had something like this when I was young, and just knowing about it was over $100. Back then I was like thinking about that yep, if I were to get any type of money like that for an allowance, and more likely it would probably take me 2 years to save up for that. But on the other hand too, that knowing about that yeah, with guy right here is me right here, and just knowing about the fact about that yeah, it's like go ahead and work with the brown here. But other than that, a lot of the teachers would probably say that you did need help in a lot of ways about knowing about your learning. But on the other hand too, you were smart in a lot of ways too. Just knowing about it's like being passionate about for what you want to do. So far as talking about, it's like for life it was is knowing about that yeah, that by every year that I would miss going to school on my birthday, especially that maybe I may get sick on my birthday, or maybe run out of money, whatever it is. And just knowing about you forgot about my birthday. But other than that, it's like talking about, it's like, yeah, with birthdays it is, and people probably thinking about that yeah, about whenever you're going to school, it was around the time that you'll be going to school, it was. And people probably thinking about that now there, it's like when the school year comes around the corner, I'm sure quite a few people probably say that I don't want to go to school. But on the other hand too, knowing about with me that so far as talk about hanging out with your friends, it was any type of attention, I would probably say about nowadays, but any type of attention that maybe just a little bit too much. Of course, it's something I like. But knowing about with me, everybody's like this. I can smile for the camera, smile for the camera, birthday boy. Or smile for the camera, or smile for the camera. But other than that, talk about right here, you have right here is the camera. And then that knowing about it's like yeah, it's like you like hi, or hey, I'm 4. Yeah, I'm just turning 1. Or it's like talking about this, for birthday. It's like talking about, it's like, if we all know what this means, so far with L, for L, for look, it is. And knowing about, people are thinking about, right on your grade report, it is with the smiley face. The most impressive birthday present that you have gotten from ever, or from what you can remember, it was maybe that special birthday hat. That special birthday hat with the cool looking color waves. You say that the things that may glow in the dark, it is. And knowing about, it's like, smile, make a wish, and don't you forget this incredible moment. It's like, happy, it's your birthday. and on your hand too, to know about, it's like tell you, it's like to blow out the candles and make a wish. It's knowing about, it's like talking about, it's like you have it to where that the number of people, it's like for the amount of people that knowing about, if they can remember that special day. It's like talking about with me that that special day, for what I can remember about what did I want for my birthday. I don't think I ever wanted to wish for a skateboard or nothing. But on the other hand too, to talking about, it's like the type of things that more likely I may ask for. Maybe what you call is like for the perfect score, of knowing about that I had not gotten sick once, and knowing about it's a beautiful day or anything like that. But just knowing about the fact that I am what you call, I am 30. And knowing about, I could probably think about that, yep, for $30 down, and then a $30 deposit it is. And knowing about how much money do you think that you will be able to save in 30 days. But other than that, it's talk about it so far as the number and the count. It's talk about, for the speech class. Talk about it's like, yeah, that knowing about with me, I am a person, it's like on disability, but on the other hand too, that knowing about, it's like I think what you call it's like for the passion is to know about, it's like about getting excited over say it's like so far is the next step is talking about always a possibility. Other than that is talking about it's like for the speech class coloring activities.